welcome. I just want to, again, say just how excited we are to be having this wonderful event. Over the next few hours, you're going to be learning about some incredible startup ventures who have received support from America's Seed Fund, but who are continuing also to just thrive and grow. And we are just really, really excited to share with you both these incredible startups, as well as the important role and impact played by America's Seed Fund. And one of the leaders driving those impacts is none other than my colleague and Director of Ecosystem Development for the SBA, Jennifer Shee. So over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jonathan. Of course, the one with the vision to make this event a reality. So for the investors and potential customers that are here in the audience today, we really hope you get a sense of how this non-dilutive federal investment has reduced technical risk, and you see ways that we might be able to partner together to advance these innovations in the marketplace and get them where they're needed. I know we have a lot of innovators and small businesses in the audience, and so we hope you'll be inspired by the diversity of entrepreneur journeys you'll see here, and know that you too can try to tap into that nearly $4 billion each year to advance your own journey. So do go check out the Expo hall and hop in, where you can download some information if you're just getting introduced to America's Seed Fund, and learn more about the agencies that fund these incredible companies. So let's get to the real reason you're here. Today, we'll be hearing from leaders and innovators at the cutting edge of 4 different industries. For each of these sessions, we'll first hear from our moderators about the current landscape in the industry. We'll then hear presentations and discussions between the moderator and each of the 3 startups individually, before all the founders join the stage for a final broader discussion. And first up is climate and energy. The challenges to our nation and the world due to climate change must be addressed from many different angles. Innovation and entrepreneurship are key for humanity to adapt to the changes already happening, as well as to be able to mitigate potential future impacts. So it's my great pleasure to introduce our moderator for the first session, Ryan Panchadsaram, an engineer and investor focused on solving systemic societal challenges. At Kleiner Perkins, Ryan serves as a technical advisor to John Doerr, where he invests in founders and technologies that aim to change the world. Ryan and John co-authored Speed and Scale, an action plan for solving our climate crisis now. So in just a moment, we'll be right back with Ryan and our fantastic climate and energy startups.
Welcome to the Climate and Energy panel. I'm so happy to be here as part of America's Seed Fund Startup Expo. We all know there's an immense need for solutions today to tackle the climate crisis and our energy challenges. So when we think about where the US should invest in R&D, that'll not only lead to job creation and economic growth, but also real impact for the nation, it's easy to see that the technologies in this category are exactly where we need to be investing. And it's not just the government. According to TechCrunch, globally, around 1,400 investors are currently looking at the next generation of companies that are tackling the climate crisis. And they've deployed over $40 billion across 600 deals in 2021. That's more than twice as much capital deployed than the year before. In this category, America's Seed Fund has invested in technologies ranging from new battery technologies to plant-based eyeglass lenses, on-demand flood control and storm surge protection, novel building materials, and energy transition solutions, and much, much more. While we'd love to show off the amazing companies that are part of the climate and energy portfolio of America's Seed Fund, we don't have enough time today. But we're going to meet 3 incredible rising innovators who are making a huge impact, from energy recovery derived from water treatment to lower emission hypersonics, and even emission-free commercial aviation. These companies are poised for great things. Now, let's hear from our first company of the day, Amorphic Tech from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Greetings. My name is Andrew Schevets, and I'm here to chat with you about Amorphic Tech and the Sttr energy recovery device. The Sttr energy recovery device is a unitary pump and turbine created and patented by Amorphic Tech to reduce the energy cost of water purification by 20%. Amorphic Tech is a vertically integrated technical solutions provider who excels at the intersection of modern digital engineering tools, cutting-edge manufacturing, and novel materials to create products previously impossible. Our team is highly qualified for the task at hand. Amongst us, we have over 100 years of experience in fluid equipment. I have built this company from the ground up, and until recent government grants, it was bootstrapped entirely by my blood, sweat, and ingenuity. I have a history of innovation in the fields of additive manufacturing and energy recovery, and have first-hand experience troubleshooting municipal scale water systems. Dr. German, who's supporting business development, has earned his PhD in environmental engineering and has experience in the commercialization and scale-up of novel water systems. Our advisors are second to none. They have executive expertise working for large global fluid equipment manufacturers. Lastly, but most importantly, we have our production team, who consists of 2 CNC experts and business administration support. They all make sure our manufacturing work is completed in spec, on time, and delivered. As a small business, we are very proud of the big clients we've served. We are also very proud to acknowledge the support of the U.S. government. The global water crisis is no mystery. As population increases and resources tighten, the World Economic Forum estimates that by 2040, global water demand will exceed supply by a whopping 40%. From our market research, we have concluded that membrane-based water filtration processes throughout the globe discard over $500 million of recoverable energy every year. The industries shown on the pie chart are what we've tabulated to be the biggest losers. Municipal scale seawater purification systems prolifically apply energy recovery. However, these devices have many qualities that leave smaller scale or lower energy systems with no useful ERD options. This includes brackish groundwater, process water production, potable reuse, small scale seawater systems, and food and beverage production. The solution? The Sttr, sliding element energy recovery device, to reclaim those lost operating costs. The novelty of the device lies in its distinctive fluid passage arrangement, which results in only 5 unique components that can be serviced without removing any piping. This yields a device that can be disassembled and reassembled in minutes by an untrained technician. We currently have 2 models. Our HP model is created entirely from off-the-shelf metal plate stock, while our LP model is made from cast fiber reinforced epoxy. All units are made entirely in-house. The device works by the high-pressure waste stream entering on the top left, driving the rotor in a clockwise direction, then being exhausted out the bottom left. Simultaneously, fresh feed fluid enters the top right and is pressurized from the rotating rotor, then exhausted out the bottom right. By interviewing over 30 potential customers and industry stakeholders, we validated our value proposition. The result? Interviewees found our value prop compelling, and we found many partners interested in piloting. As we are producing these prototype units, we are definitively, incrementally, improving the technology to meet our developed product specifications. We perform literal rapid prototyping to mature the technology. Using our in-house test loops, we've completed over 100 design-build tests to drive innovation and maximize performance. Up next, we will utilize our SBIR to continue R&D, increasing performance parameters and completing endurance testing. We have planned pilot tests with commercial partner Harn RO, then we will scale to a larger pilot test with the Bureau of Reclamation. Beyond that, we have documented interest to field test Sttr units from many very reputable water organizations and industrial giants. To aid development and accelerate commercialization, we are looking for finance partners. So please reach out with any questions, comments, or interest to partner with us. Thanks for watching.
Amazing. Andrew, tell me more about you and what inspired you to tackle this challenge.
I love creating things. I love making things. And I really like working on something that I can get behind and that, I find inspiring if I'm spending my time on it. And reducing the cost of freshwater resources is something that we can benefit from, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And creating and spending time innovating and using modern technologies and old technologies to create something that everybody can benefit from is just a dream and something that drives me.
I love that. And, you and your team are building hundreds of thousands of products for other folks. And as a small business, how did you make the decision to go after this particular challenge? Was it a customer? Was it tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we actually started targeting this challenge initially, and it was just myself. We had no equipment, no nothing. We produced the first prototype. We were 20% more efficient than conventional technology, but didn't have a commercially ready product. I fell on my face. I ran out of resources, and we had to take that shift into providing services, engineering and manufacturing services. So then we found ourselves building up our manufacturing footprint and capabilities. We started providing to the industries of power generation and cryogenics, and that allowed us the expertise and the physical foundational footprint to continue going after this problem that I so wanted to solve.
You and your team are able to do those 100 iterations. What advice do you have for others that are trying to create a good pilot customer relationship? What makes that relationship successful?
I think having reasonable expectations that slow and steady wins the race. Everybody wants to envision this windfall situation where I do one thing and eureka, I'm good to go. But the reality is that you need to go slow and steady and focus on the little steps, just like everyday life. Taking these small steps, building the relationships, building those relationships with government and your funding sources. These are all things that setting appropriate expectations for small business owners is definitely a way that you can find yourself happy the next day and ready to kick on.
Tell us a little more about this award that you recently won, you and the team.
So with the Global Water Summit, it is the world's largest global water magazine. And they have this fantastic event. This year it was in Madrid in Spain, where all the water industry from throughout the globe descends on this single location. It was their biggest year yet, as everybody's coming off of COVID and ready to mingle. And we were participating in their new technology competition called the Water Technology Idol. And we were very, very proud to take home the win. It was fantastic for us. We immediately got amazing industry response from all the world's largest water companies and equipment manufacturers. And we are looking to build relationships and continue to explore how we can work with all those individuals and get our product reducing global CO2 emissions.
It takes a team to make most of anything happen. How have you built out your team?
Building our team is challenging, especially the past few years. You need to provide, as a small business, it's hard, but you need to provide a decent pay. You need to provide good benefits. Finding good advisors that can help you along the way and navigate all these difficult roads. Innovating and creating a product is never straight line. It is much more like a river that ebbs and flows. You get stuck, and finding people to help guide you along that is very important. And finding a team that is willing to come in every day with a smile on their face and do what needs to be done to get you there. I said that good pay and benefits, but money can't buy it. You need to find inspirational subjects and get people who are excited about what they do.
I think the mission that you and the team are going after is inspiring, right? So you have that foundation of good pay and benefits, but there's a real why when people come to work with you and your team. Tell me more about the customers, the ideal customer. You and the team are building these things. The audience that's watching this today is quite diverse. Like, who's out there that could adopt your technology or sign up to be a pilot?
So it can be individual water users. So that'll come in the form of private entities such as, say, hotels or resorts, but also engineering and procurement and construction firms who are designing a small scale or large scale systems where these units will be physically specified and then implemented. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you also have small scale units that are applied in deployment for military resources and emergency response and humanitarian situations. So it is across the board, from the physical system users to those designing and deploying the systems.
Amazing, both pieces. When you think about the successes that you and your company are going to have, not if they have, they will happen this year and next, what will those be? Like, what does success next year look like for you and the team?
Success in the immediate future is continuing the use of our SBIR to drive innovation and commercial readiness of our product. But in the next few months, we plan to get our first pilot and field test out the door. We're going to graduate to a larger field test. And then we have a whole list of clients who are ready, interested, and willing to test units and complete our initial commercial sale of that product.
When you and the team are doing these iterations, what's been an unexpected challenge, and how did your team overcome it?
Unexpected challenge, they are numerous. When you're doing something that's never been done before and you're developing a technology that nobody has ever created. I come from an engineering and analysis background, right, where you try super hard to simulate real life. But when you don't know what the problems are, you cannot simulate real life. And then so we produce a prototype and perform a test, and then it comes out that the results, wait, that's not what I thought was going to happen at all. The problem is actually entirely different. And then we return to the fundamentals. We step backwards. We work together and attack these problems from the ground up. We start foundationally with how we make them, our fixturing, all these things. And then we move to the physical practicality. And moving between initial use, initial conceptualization, and physical manufacturing and testing, that is something that we are just doing constantly. We're not doing it once and then running it and ready to go. We are stepping backwards, and we're doing it, and we're learning, and we're doing it again and again, and stepping forward one step at a time.
With 20 seconds left, any final message before we get together with the larger panel after this? But final messages?
Thank you so much for having us. We cannot stress how valuable the resources from the Bureau of Reclamation and the Department of Energy, SBIR, have been for us. So thank you so much. And America is the place to be for getting support in this type of investment innovation.
And how do folks get in touch with you, Andrew?
They can go to our website at amorphictech.com. There's email address there. You can call us, email us. We are ready and willing to receive any outreach.
Amazing. So we're going to see you back up here in about 15 minutes when we have our group panel. And so next up, actually from Middleton, Massachusetts, let's learn about Fgc Plasma Solutions.
Hi, I'm Felipe Gomez, the founder and CEO of Fgc Plasma Solutions. We are working on developing technologies to improve combustion using plasma. So what that means is that we take electrical discharges and use them to break apart fuel and air molecules to improve performance in various systems. This technology will help to reduce emissions specifically from air travel and natural gas fueled power generation. So we can help airlines save fuel and reduce emissions by lowering their idle fuel burn and improving the performance of future jet engines. We can also make significant improvements to current land-based gas turbines and other fuel-flexible power systems. We've really been supported through and through by DOE since the beginning. We actually started as a National Clean Energy Business Plan competition funded company by DOE when I was still an undergraduate student. We then were incubated at Argonne National Lab through the DOE funded Chain Reaction Innovations Program. And DOE was, the first grant that we ever got was a DOE SBIR. And we actually have gone to two sequential phase 2 awards from that initial program that have supported the development of our technology, which we're now accomplishing together with MIT and a major jet engine manufacturer. We've actually already licensed one application of our technology for small jet engines. Looking forward to larger jet engines and gas turbines, we're currently working, funded by DOE and our venture capital, together with an engine manufacturer to apply our technology to their engines. And we eventually hope to transition this technology to them through a license or acquisition.
Felipe, that is wonderful. You know, decarbonizing aviation is going to be one of those hard problems that we have to figure out as humanity when we think about reducing emissions. And so, Felipe, tell me more about you and what inspired you to tackle this challenge in particular.
Thanks, Ryan. I totally agree that it's a tough problem, right? And excuse my voice here. So we've been really excited about this problem. So I've been working on this for over 10 years. So at one point, this was a high school science fair. Then it was all of my undergraduate work, all of my graduate work. Fast forward a few years, we've raised around $13 million. We're a team of 20, and we work with some of the best research institutions in the country in commercializing this technology and taking it from lab to market.
And so for the average person like myself, if I'm trying to explain it to my elementary school kid, tell me what plasma is and why it's different and more competitive or more environmentally friendly than, you know, current engines.
Yeah, definitely. So basically plasma it's like lightning in a bottle, right? It's a soup of high energy particles that have lots of energy to bump into things and break bonds from other molecules. So combustion is just a chemical reaction. So the way we improve that is by taking this soup of high energy particles and using that to break apart the bonds in fuel and air molecules. So the analogy that we always use is, you know, combustion is like playing with Legos, right? If someone gives you a block of Legos all stuck together and they ask you to build a car or a house out of those, it takes you time and energy to take each block apart bit by bit. But if you hit that block with a marble, right, or if you put it in a plasma, right, you have lots of really fast electrons bumping into things, then you can break apart your molecules, you can break apart your Lego block, if you will. And all those constituent pieces can react much quicker and much more efficiently. So it really is, it's a new way of improving something that hasn't really been touched for many years, right? It's another knob to control how you can burn fuel cleaner or how you can run combustion in really difficult environments like hypersonic engines.
Yeah, the fastest of engines. And when you see the work that your team are doing, what kind of planes or aviation or final products do you see using this engine? Like, to tell us what the world will look like in a decade.
Certainly. So we work across 3 verticals. So in energy and aerospace, we are basically developing retrofittable fuel injectors that have this technology that you could swap out into an existing engine manufacturer's jet engine to help them reduce fuel and emissions. On the hypersonic side, we're actually developing our own engines there, enabled by our technology to power the future of high-speed flight for defense applications for the U.S. and allies.
And when you think about the fuel sources, is it using existing fossil fuels? And if so, how much more efficient is it? Like, what kind of savings are we looking at from a climate point of view?
It's a mix of both, right? I think, for example, in aerospace, right, there are very viable biofuel alternatives. But if you think about all the fuel depots and all the airports around the world, changing all of that infrastructure to even drop-in replacements it's being done by some great companies, but it's going to take some time. So it's important to be as efficient as possible, no matter what the fuel you're burning. I think liquid hydrocarbons, whether they are from fossil fuels or hopefully soon from bio-derived sources, are going to be the way to go for commercial aviation. What we are targeting there is benefits on the order of 1% to 5%. Now, that might not sound a lot like you, for a average consumer in their car, you might not notice 1% to 5% in fuel burn, but for airlines, that's billions of dollars a year in savings.
When you and your team, especially you, are a wonderful example of translating a technology that you focused on at school and in a lab environment and into the market. What advice do you have, Felipe, for other founders just like you who have been researching incredible new technologies and want to commercialize it?
Yeah, it's a great question because we work a lot with universities and we see lots of awesome technologies that are stuck in a lab and have really no hope of leaving. And I think one of the key things as a founder is that you need to find a way to resource your vision. And the SBIR, or when we're on the DoD side, the Sbir process is one of the best ways of doing that. So I think that the best advice I'd give to a founder is, first and foremost, believe in the science, right? You have to convince yourself about the physics of what you're doing and that you're not breaking any laws of the natural world, and what you're doing is actually technically possible. And then if it is, that will help you believe in yourself and help you convince others to believe in your vision so that you can resource it. And then, work at solving the highest risk items first until you get to a point where you can get to the next proof point, get more resources, get to the next proof point. That's the game.
And that in that game, of de-risking and more resources, when does an SBIR fit in? When does venture capital fit in? What advice do you give to your peers?
Yeah, I really love that question, right? Because I think there's this idea in people's minds that there's a very defined roadmap of you're going to do a phase 1 SBIR, you're going to do a phase 2 SBIR, and then you're just going to go get a whole bunch of venture capital, right? We've raised about over $10 million from SBIRs, and we've also raised venture capital, but we have much more money from SBIRs, and it's a continuum, right? We can spend our SBIR dollars on the highest technical risk items or things that are specifically for a government customer, while the venture dollars give you more flexible money that you can use for your independent research and development, right? To help you keep more of the IP or to fund your business development or legal expenses for patents, right? So I think the really important thing is not necessarily switching from one to the other, but how to use that mix, right? I think it's something I wish people understood more, that it's not, I'm going to go SBIR or I'm going to go venture capital, especially if you're commercializing a deep technology. I think you really need both, but SBIR is the first step.
It's wonderful. Do you, with 30 seconds left, any other messages to this wonderful audience that's tuning in right now?
Yeah, first off, I think I definitely would like to acknowledge the support of the SBIR program from various agencies from DOE who graciously made that video for us, DOD and NASA. We definitely would not be here without that. And then I would also say that this is something that's accessible to anyone in the US with a good idea. It might take you a few cycles, but you can get an SBIR to pursue your product, pursue your technology, and you never know where that will go.
Awesome. Felipe, don't run away, because we're going to spend a good time to, all three of the founders together to give more advice to folks on how to work with the SBIR, how to be successful with it. So talk to you more soon, Felipe. And we're actually going to continue the theme of aviation and looking at our final company in this category, Hydroplane from Lancaster, California.
I'm Dr. Anita Sengupta, professor of astronautics and founder of Hydroplane. After nearly 2 decades of working on complex space technologies like the entry, descent, and landing system for the Mars Curiosity rover and developing ion propulsion for deep space exploration for NASA, I founded Hydroplane to develop advanced technologies to decarbonize aviation. At Hydroplane, a team of expert engineers and scientists is solving this problem by developing and building a 200 kilowatt hydrogen fuel cell power plant for the aviation industry. Hydroplane's innovative approach of stacked modular fuel cells allows for easily scalable solutions from single-engine aircraft to helicopters, eVTOL platforms, and regional aircraft. In our agile workflow, we use off-the-shelf components where possible and develop new technologies and systems where necessary. Our novel approach will lead to significant improvement in efficiency and a substantial weight reduction, making us an emission-free alternative to piston and turbine engine power plants for aviation. Hydroplane's innovative fuel cell power plant will provide over 300 miles of range with no charge time, no battery replacements, a low noise profile, while only emitting water. You can be part of a cleaner future. Join us as Hydroplane develops the world's first single-engine aircraft hydrogen fuel cell power plant.
Dr. Sengupta, that is so amazing. You're giving us zero emission wings. Tell me more about why hydrogen and the challenge, and why do you think that's going to be the aviation fuel of the future?
So my background is from the space program. My first job was actually developing cryogenic propulsion system for launch vehicle applications. And when you look at the most energy efficient fuel that you can get out there in terms of energy per unit mass, that is always going to be hydrogen and oxygen combination. And so you can apply that in a different way instead of combustion, but in terms of hydrogen fuel cells, which makes you even more efficient because you're able to transfer more of that energy into thrust and lose less of it as heat. And of course, hydrogen, when it combines with oxygen, produces an exhaust product, which is only water, which is obviously good for the environment.
You and the team have accomplished so much. Right now, at the current phase Hydroplane is, what technical milestones or challenges are you and the team working through?
So we're working on our phase 2 STTR under the Agility Prime program. And as part of that program, we're developing a custom fuel cell stack where we'll do a ground-based demonstration followed by a flight demonstration. And so we hope to have our flight demonstration in as early as 8 months. And then we'll conclude the effort in 12 months, which hopefully will lead to a commercial production ready design that can be sold to our government customer.
You've assembled a phenomenal team. What advice do you have for others that are trying to tackle these harder challenges, right? Like this is building things, not in the world that I traditionally come from, which is, bits and bytes. This is actually atoms and putting things in the air. What advice do you have for other founders that are recruiting teams around the hard things?
So I think the one easy part that we have is that the fact that we have at the core of our mission to save the environment, to help the environment, to decarbonize aviation, you can actually pull in many young people who are interested in that as a mission, because things have definitely changed over the course of the past 10 years. Now everyone recognizes that's the number one existential threat. So we're able to pull people from companies like SpaceX, some companies like Boeing and Blue Origin, because engineers want to be a part of the solution. So I would say if you have a vision which can result in something which will help society, you'll probably find tons of people who want to join you on that journey.
When you see this technology coming from, of course, space technology down now to these single engine aircrafts, how do you see the progression of actually the fuel cell powertrain play out? So first, it's going to be the plane that's behind you. What's next? And when can I get into a plane that's going to be powered by hydrogen fuel?
We'll definitely take you flying when we're doing our demonstration. So just let me know, give me a call. So hopefully within the next year, we'll take you flying up with this. I'm actually a commercial pilot myself, so you can be my co-pilot. But in terms of the space program heritage, hydrogen fuel cells were actually used as the energy storage technology for the space shuttle program. So as many things with the space program, they have applications out there, but then we actually bring them down to Earth. So it's actually sooner than you think. And in terms of ground-based vehicles, obviously we already have hydrogen fuel cell powered cars. There are 3 Asian companies that provide that as an option to you. I actually have one myself in California. But in terms of this product come to market, hopefully within the next 24 months, we'll have it in the market for the experimental aircraft community. And then within the next 2 to 4 years, we'll have it on the market for commercial purposes for certified aircraft.
Amazing. There's one thread that sometimes comes about when you search up hydrogen fuels, and it's a myth, but it needs to be debunked, which is the safety of hydrogen fuels. Folks always think of the big blimp, and share more about the safety elements of this fuel for the future.
There's many different aspects to that. I'm actually pretty active on social media myself. So whenever I post about my hydrogen fuel cell car journeys, I get people saying, oh, it's so dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And we're actually get lots of good talking points from the California Fuel Cell Partnership. But ultimately, you have to look at explosive potential, you have to look at flammability. And when you look at it in that way, actually gasoline, it's actually more explosive and more flammable. You actually have to have a higher concentration of oxygen present plus an ignition source to actually ignite hydrogen as compared to gasoline, which means it's more easy to ignite gasoline. Hydrogen is also a very small molecule, which means it diffuses rapidly, which means you wouldn't have the concentration to have that kind of explosion. And when you look at it specifically at the aviation use case, if, unfortunately you had some kind of engine out, in this case, power plant out failure scenario, you had to land without an engine, you actually have the ability to basically vent your hydrogen immediately, which means that when you come into land, you won't have any explosion potential. So in fact, it's actually more dangerous to have a hydrocarbon and fuel plant in that way. And so there's a lot of you can leverage from the automotive sector synergies there for the safety perspective. That's actually a more difficult use case. And so if that's been resolved already by the regulators, the aviation one obviously has differences to it, but it's something that you can address from the engineering perspective, which we're working on.
Can you share a little bit about how Hydroplane has specifically benefited from the America Seed Fund?
Well, I'm so thankful, just like the other 2 people in the presentation for me. So we were able to use our phase 1 Sttr as our pre-seed funding, which enabled us to come up with a conceptual design for the power plant. We were then able to use that level of detail of the conceptual design to raise that angel round. And then during that process, obviously, we were continuing to work on the design. We put in for our phase 2, we won that as well. So as the person said before me, we're able to use the Air Force funding to develop this really custom 200 kilowatt power plant that exists for aviation. It's probably only one on the planet that will exist. In addition to doing all the rest of the balance of plant technologies, as well as acquiring the aircraft, as well as making the liquid hydrogen feed system with our private angel money. So we're able to really leverage that to push the company forward rapidly.
We've got about 30 seconds left before we bring everyone together. Any final messages for this group in this before we dig into the larger panel? Yeah,
I would like to encourage everybody to utilize the SBIR process, STTR process, if you have a great idea on the technology front, and definitely try and find a mission in life which you think you can resolve problems and solve problems with new technologies.
That's such an important principle. Thank you so much, Dr. Sengupta, and congratulations on all you've accomplished. And just to remind everyone, if someone would like to get in touch with you and Hydroplane to learn more, how can they reach you?
Yeah, go to our website at hydroplane.us, or you can catch us on social media at Hydroplane Aero.
Perfect. Wonderful. Now, hang on tight, and we're going to get Felipe and Andrew back here on stage so we can spend a few more minutes together digging in on advice on how to work with SBIR and STTR. Hello, hello. Okay, so we're going to make this rapid fire because I think we've got maybe 7 minutes left. And so we'll quickly go around to the loop. How did you first learn about SBIR and STTR? And we'll go Andrew, Felipe, then Anita. Andrew, how did you first learn of it? Where was the spark? And unmute yourself too.
We were down at an event at the Bureau of Reclamation. They have a water event down at their groundwater research facility in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And go figure, we're there presenting some information. We make some connections and are able to take a good step forward.
Amazing. Felipe, the first spark.
First spark. So I was at an ARPA-E conference and they were talking about SBIR. Sounded like a great idea. First year, we wrote 13 proposals, got 0. And then the next year, our win rates have improved. But now we've received about 16 of them. So,
Anita.
I used to be on the other side. I worked for NASA for most of my career, so I used to be a reviewer of SBIR proposals. So when I went out and did my own thing, I already had kind of an idea of how amazing that program could be.
And Andrew, were you first successful right off the bat? It sounded like Felipe had to take a few swings.
Yeah, our first submission to the Bureau of Rec got rejected. The following year, we were able to succeed, and then we were able to build on that success and move on with the Department of Energy.
Anita, successful first time or?
Yes.
Amazing.
So we got our phase 1 and completed, and then our phase 2.
What advice, Anita, do you have for folks applying to get that first win rate? And then I'm going to ask the same question to you, Andrew and Felipe. How do we get a successful application through?
You need to understand what your customer needs and wants and what ultimately drives their decision making. You also have to answer all the things that they ask for in that proposal document. Make yourself a checklist, do every single one, give them a reason to pick you because you've checked every single box.
Felipe?
I would absolutely echo that. So know your customer, just like in any other part of business, and thoroughly read the BAA or the FOA, right? And address every single part of that in your proposal.
What's the BAA and FOA? Just the acronyms?
The broad agency announcement or the funding opportunity announcement, depending on what agency it is, there's different vehicles that solicit proposals. So,
Andrew, making these successful, how?
Yeah, again, follow the rules, just like everybody else said. There's a lot of them. Make sure you follow them. Having somebody who's done it before to help guide you and give you feedback on your proposal is tremendously helpful, and just to get a set of eyes to know what this document should really look like, right? Because you're producing 50 to 100 pages of content, and you want to let your business shine.
And so commercialization, let's talk a little bit about that. What's been the most challenging part about it? And what do you wish you knew now that you now know now? And maybe I'll go in reverse order. Anita first, and then Felipe, then Andrew.
Well, for us, we're developing vehicle technology, but we're very much dependent upon the infrastructure. And so obviously hydrogen infrastructure doesn't really exist ubiquitously all across the United States right now. So probably from the get-go, having somebody who answers some piece of the part that you're not answering that might de-risk the investment or de-risk the potential to the ultimate customer would be important.
Felipe.
The most important thing is being flexible, right? Where we thought the best fit for our technology was when we started is only one of the applications we look at now. So I think it's taking a scientific approach and a broad lens to seeing where your technology can be most applied to solve a problem in the market, right?
Andrew?
Yeah, being flexible, absolutely. Being able to absorb where your strengths and weaknesses are, play on your strengths, find the markets for where your strengths are, and taking your weaknesses and being able to problem solve around them, definitely. And for us, again, technical development of something that nobody's done before, it's really challenging, and you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to evaluate new perspectives.
This question here, real talk. SBIR and America's Seed Fund is only a piece of your funding pie. And so how do you coach and guide other founders in thinking about it as part of their funding strategy? Maybe Felipe, since you haven't gone first, do Felipe, Anita, then Andrew this time.
So I think, as a founder, the most important thing you can do is not run out of money, right? So it is a big part of the funding strategy, and you use it where you can get it, right? So there's a cost benefit analysis that you do for each proposal of, is this distracting or is this going to advance us on our mission? And then once you are in the SBIR, you use those relationships with other program managers, with other people in the government, with investors, to see how you can leverage the connections, but especially the technical development that you're making on the SBIR to fund whatever your next milestone is, right?
So I would say know what you don't know, and also surround yourself with people who do know what it is that you don't know, and make use of tools that are out there, such as incubators and accelerators that might exist in a university environment. Make sure that obviously they're not going to take advantage of you in terms of taking too much equity. Yeah, it's really important to inform yourself with the right information, and also realize that not all money is money that you should take. You want to have people who invest in you early on, who believe in your vision, who will be with you for the long haul.
For us, we drove a lot of our early revenue stream from physically providing services. A table has to stand on many legs. And in this case, learning high precision manufacturing is a leg that supports the leg of our research and development. And all the legs pick up each other and help us walk forward. So being flexible and being able to use your skills and learn new skill sets to drive revenue stream and increase your funding and capabilities.
This advice is so valuable. We've got a few more minutes left, and so I will leave it to parting words of advice, guidance, and inspiration. And maybe we'll do that same order: Felipe, Anita, and Andrew.
I'd say parting advice is that there's so many problems, big problems that we face in our world, and I think a lot of that innovation is going to come from small businesses. So if you have an idea and you want to go after it, you can do it. The SBIR process is really one of the major tools that you have in your toolkit to turn whatever you were working on in your graduate program or whatever idea you may have into reality, right? If you work hard and surround yourself with the right people.
Takes a team.
And I would say believe in yourself, be resilient, and recognize that just because something hasn't been done yet doesn't mean that it can be done. It just means that it's really difficult and you might be the right person to do it.
That's wonderful. I feel like for all these challenges, especially in the climate crisis, most of these, the easy stuff will be done or is already on its way. The hard stuff really does take folks putting not a lot of ingenuity, a lot of effort, and of course, the full support and help of governments to make possible. Andrew.
Don't be afraid to speak up about your idea. You got an idea, stand up, speak out about it, educate yourself on the subject, and don't be afraid to approach governmental agencies, potential customers, all the above. Let yourself be you and let yourself shine.
That's so inspiring. Thank you, Anita, Andrew, and Felipe, for this great conversation. And I hope all of you in the audience enjoyed this discussion. We covered so much ground, and each of them shared how to get in touch. Actually, Felipe, I don't think I asked you, what's the best way for folks to find FGC Plasma?
You can find me on LinkedIn or look at our website, fgcplasma.com.
Amazing. So whether you're an investor or a potential partner or a customer, do reach out to them. Right? Every little email, every little outreach does help. And so who might be interested in following up with someone you heard from, reach out to them. Or actually, I think a handful of you are innovators. And I hope hearing from these three inspiring entrepreneurs help convince you to apply to America's Seed Fund.